Hello, everyone. Hey, thank you for joining us in our 10-minute Bible lesson. If you've been following us, you know that we've been doing some lessons about Jesus's miracles, and I can say I've really enjoyed them. Now, today, we're going to look at another miracle, but this miracle is the greatest miracle of all. Can you guess what it is? Well, let me give you a little hint. As of today, we're approaching Easter Sunday. So that may give you a little hint. Well, let's go ahead and read, because we're going to be reading all of our verses from Matthew chapter 28. So we're going to look at verses 1 and 2 and see what it says. It says, "Now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, and an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it." Now here in this passage, we have recorded, we have here an eyewitness account of what happened on the first Easter morning. Now that's an amazing thing, because there's no better witnesses than an eyewitness. And we have that right here. So the women had come to the tomb. Jesus had been crucified and died. They took him down. They buried him in a tomb. It was, I think, Joseph's tomb, Joseph of Arimathea. And they had come after the Sabbath to anoint Jesus' dead body. Now listen, when they got there, when they got to the tomb, they found something astonishingly different than what they expected. What was it? Well, the first thing that happened was an earthquake. Have you ever been in an earthquake, even a small earthquake? I have. It's a really weird feeling. This was a great earthquake. And after that, the scripture says that the angel of the Lord, or the angel of the Lord, descended from heaven and rolled back the stone and did something I thought was kind of strange. He sat on the stone. Well, let's look and see how it describes this angel in verses 3 and 4 of Matthew 28. So here it says, "His countenance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow. And the guards shook for fear of him and became like dead men." So, are there other beings in our universe? Well, the answer is yes, there is. There are other beings, and they're called angels. And these beings are different than you and me. They're of a different kind. They're not like us. They're different than us. Listen, they're eternal beings. They are glorious beings. They are great and powerful beings. And here in these verses, we get to see the recording of such. And I think that's really interesting. Now, their appearance must have been extremely frightful and glorious. If you can have both of those things, because they did have both of them. They were frightful and they were glorious, in so much that, listen, the guards who had been sent to keep the seal of the tomb closed they were so terrified, they became like dead men. Now, Bill, I want to know, what was it that the angel had to say? So let's read about it in verses 5 and 6 of Matthew 28. "But the angel answered and said to the women, 'Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay.'" My, oh my, this is what he said. Angels are God's messengers. And what a message he had to bring. Notice that this important message of Jesus being raised from the dead was delivered to women. Now, why is that unusual? Here's why it is. Because In the first century, the testimony of women were not counted in courts of law. And that just amazes me, the way God does things. Aren't you glad that He does things not like we think He should? And so He did so here. So what happened was the angels invited the women to come into the tomb to see where Jesus had been laid. And I think that's really, really interesting. So, and then they told the women, He is not here, He is risen. So the greatest message ever told, the greatest miracle that ever happened. And He said, don't be afraid. I know you seek Jesus who was crucified, but He is not here. Well, let's look at verses 7 and 8 in Matthew 28. So let's listen to the angel's instructions to the women. Here's what he said. And go quickly and tell His disciples that He is risen from the dead. And indeed He is gone before you into Galilee, and there you will see Him. Behold, I have told you. So they went out quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy and ran to bring His disciples words. So these women that had experienced this amazing event, they were now to go tell others. Who were they to tell? They were to go tell Jesus' disciples. So the women did exactly according to the instructions that the angel had given them. Listen, they became the first faithful witnesses of the gospel, or the good news. They were the ones that did that. So what were they to do? What did the angel tell them to do? He says to go quickly and tell them. And you know what? They did. But when they went with mixed emotions. What were their emotions? Their emotions were fear and joy, which is an amazing thing, that human beings can actually have mixed emotions, one of fear and also one of joy. And then it says that they ran to find the disciples and to tell them. Well, let's look at the last two verses, and that's verses 9 and 10 of Matthew 28. It says, and as they went to tell His disciples, now something else amazing happened. Behold, Jesus met them, saying, what did Jesus say to them? Rejoice. So they came and held Him by the feet and worshiped Him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. So if the women's meeting with the angel was not amazing enough, guess what happened? On their way, they met Jesus Himself. And what did He say to them? He didn't say, boo. He said, rejoice. And I'm sure they were rejoicing. And their reaction is a wonderful, wonderful thing, the Bible tells us. What did they do? They fell down at His feet, hugged His feet, and worshiped Him. Oh, wow. This is a great thing. No doubt they were just completely overwhelmed, and you and I would be too if that happens to us. So what did Jesus tell them? He gave them the exact same instructions that the angel had given them. What were they to do? They were to go to tell Jesus' disciples to go to Galilee, and when they got there they would see Jesus. Isn't this an amazing account of the greatest miracle of all? And that is Jesus' defeat of death itself. Now, what does that mean? It means everything to you and me. Because Jesus said, because I live, you shall live also. Isn't it a wonderful, wonderful passage? Hey, I hope you enjoyed it today. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful Easter.